Let's look at dividing by a two-digit number. So here's my problem, 436 divided by 62. That's how you say this, 436 divided by 62. And when I divide and use long division, I like to use DMSCB like I have on the right side here. Sometimes I say, does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers? If I use those steps, it really helps me to keep track so I don't make any mistakes. So now I'm going to start with the D step, divide. So does 62 divide into 4? Nope. I'm going to put an X there to hold the place. Does 62 divide into 43? Nope. I'm going to put an X there to hold in place. And now, does 62 divide into 436? Yes. And I need to try to figure out how many times. This is a little tricky because I don't have my 62 tables memorized. It's pretty hard to count by 62s. So I somehow have to find a way to figure out how many times 62 divides into 436. So here's a trick that I like to use. And this trick works sometimes, not all the time, but it always gets you pretty close. So even if it doesn't work, it's going to get you close. So what I like to do is take my finger and cover up the 2. So I'm going to pretend like this is my finger. And then I'm going to take my finger here and cover up the 6. So I cover up the last digit in the divisor and the last digit in the dividend. And now I'm left with 43 divided by 6. The other numbers are still there. I'm just covering them just for a second. And now I have to think, what is 43 divided by 6? And so 43 divided by 6 is 7. And now I did the divide step. Now I only covered those 6 and 2 for just a second. It's still 436 divided by 62. I just covered those just to find out how many times 62 divides into 436. So now I need to multiply the 7 up here times the 62 because that 2 is still there. And so I can't do that in my head. So over on the side, I just need to do 62 times 7. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 6 is 42. Plus 1 is 43. So now I get 434. So I multiplied. Now I need to subtract. 436 minus 434 is 2. And then I check, is the 2 smaller than the 62? Yep. And now I need to bring down, but there's nothing to bring down. So my answer is 7, remainder 2, like that. Let's look at another one. 573 divided by 78. So I'm going to start with the divide step. Does 78 divide into 5? Nope. Does 78 divide into 57? Nope. But 78 does divide into 573. So now I have to figure out how many times, and this is a little tricky because it's hard to count by 78s. We don't know our 78 tables by heart. So I'm just going to cover up the 8 just for a second with my finger. I'm pretending like that's my finger, and then I'm going to cover up the 3 just for a second. And now I'm going to do 57 divided by 7, and that is 8. So I'm going to put an 8 here. So I did the divide step. Now I need to multiply, and I need to multiply the 8 times the entire 78 over here. That 8 isn't gone. I just covered it for a second as a little trick. So now I do 78 times 8. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 7 is 56, plus 6 is 62. And now I got 624, and I just multiplied, but I'm supposed to subtract, but I can't do 573 minus 624. It's too big. So my 624 is too big, and if that's the case, then my 8 is too big. So I went a little bit too high here with my estimation, so I need to erase this here. So I can't do 8. 8 is too high. So I need to go lower, so I'm going to try a 7 now. There we go. So now there's my 7. Now I need to multiply again. So I have to try 78 times 7. 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 7 is 49. Plus 5 is 54. And now I'm left with 546. And now it's time for me to subtract. 573 minus 546, so I need to regroup here. So 13 take away 6 is 7, 6 take away 4 is 2, and now I have to check, is 27 smaller than 78? Yes. If it's not, then I need to start over. And then my next step is to bring down, but there's nothing left to bring down, so I have 7, remainder 27, and there's my answer. Let's look at another. 102 divided by 13. So my first step is to divide. So does 13 divide into 1? No. Does it divide into 10? Nope. But now I need to divide 13 into 102. So I could try covering up. So I'm going to cover these up, and now I'm left with 10 divided by 1, which is 10. And I can't put a 10 up at the top. The biggest I can put up the top is a 9. So I'm going to try a 9. So I divided. My next step is to multiply. 13 times 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 9 times 1 is 9. Plus 2 is 11. So I got 117. Oh, it happened again. It's too big. And sometimes that happens. So I need to go a little bit smaller. And so I'm going to try 8. So we have 13 times 8. So 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 1 is 8. Plus 2 is 10. 104. Oh, too big again. And sometimes this happens. So I tried 9. I tried 8. I'm going to try a 7. I think it's going to work this time. So try a 7. Now I have to do 13 times 7. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 1 is 7. Plus 2 is 9. So now we have 91. So I divided. I multiplied. Now I have to subtract. 102 minus 91. 2 minus 1 is 1. 10 minus 9 is 1. I subtract. And I check. Is 11 smaller than 13? Yep. There's nothing to bring down, so it's 7, remainder 11. Now let's try our last one here. 279 divided by 46. So I'm going to start with the divide step. 46 doesn't divide into 2, so I'm going to put an X. Doesn't divide into 27. I'm going to put an X. Now I have to divide 46 into 279. So I'm going to cover up the 6, cover up the 9, and I'm left with 27 divided by 4, which is 6. So I divided. Now I multiply. I need to multiply this 6 times the entire 46. I just covered that up for a second. So 46 times 6. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 4 is 24. Plus 3 is 27. I got 276. So I divided. I just multiplied. Now I subtract. 279 minus 276 is 3. And I check. Is 3 smaller than 46? Yes, there's nothing to bring down, so it's 6, remainder 3.